Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse Peacemaker Unmasked from the Suicide Squad. Peacemaker is played by John Cena. This figure was a Target exclusive. Originally it was supposed to be a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, but since they're not having that this year, some of these figures became Walmart and Target exclusives. I pre-ordered my figure from Target.com and finally got him today. So let's go ahead and check out the packaging here. As you can see at the top, 22 moving parts, McFarlane Toys, got the Spawn logo there, ages 12 plus, DC Multiverse, Peacemaker Unmasked. This is part of the collective build King Shark wave. He's the third figure to assemble King Shark. He comes with the same two pieces, King Shark's arms that come with the masked Peacemaker. One side of the package says Peacemaker Unmasked from the Suicide Squad. Other side simply says Peacemaker Unmasked. At the bottom, there's a bunch of credits, and there is a barcode, in case that helps anybody. And on the back side, you can see Peacemaker with his mask on in black and white. You can see a list of all the parts for King Shark. We got the third of 4 parts. Here's assembly instructions, and here's the rest of the Suicide Squad wave. So with no further ado, let's open him up. And I did end up getting 2 of these figures, one to keep as is, and one to take the unmasked head off and put it onto a civilian body, so I can have Peacemaker out of the costume. Alright, now that we got this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out. He does come with a display stand, a collector's card, 2 of King Shark's arms to build the figure, and then he also has an axe or a hatchet. But before we take a look at the accessories, let's talk about and check out the actual figure. So this is the unmasked version of Peacemaker. His real name is Christopher Smith, and he's played by John Cena in The Suicide Squad. So let's take a look at him. Starting off with his face here, I mean, it looks good, but I'll tell you, I have the Mattel Ultimate John Cena, and the likeness is so much better. Mattel never beats McFarlane, but I think they did on the unmasked head. Don't get me wrong, he didn't quite have that normal, stereotypical John Cena look in the film, but this is just a little bit off. It does look good, but if you compare it to the other one, which we will do later in the video, it looks a little short. Tell me what you guys think below. Going further down, he's got that red shirt. It's got nice texture on it. The dove on the front there, hence Peacemaker. Double jointed elbows, double jointed knees. Got those khaki pants, black boots. Once again, there's texturing on the pants here. Very pleased with what I'm seeing there. Overall, pretty cool figure. I prefer the one with the helmet on, but it's definitely nice to have both. And then, just a closer look at his face. It resembles John Cena, but definitely fell short in some places. And here are both the Peacemaker figures with all their accessories laid out. Now let's take a look at his accessories, and let's start with the boring stuff. He's got this display stand, typical McFarlane stand, black perfect circle, says DC on the bottom, 1 peg for the peg holes on his feet, very thin, very basic. Now let's look at his collector's card. This is an image of Peacemaker from the Suicide Squad. It's sort of in black and white. Notice it says Peacemaker Unmasked from the Suicide Squad. On the back, there is a description. If you want to read it, go ahead and pause now. Here's the unmasked version of Peacemaker's collector's card on the left, next to the regular masked or helmeted version on the right. He also comes with King Shark's arms. I was surprised he came with the Build-A-Figure pieces. He's exactly the same as the masked Peacemaker, just simply doesn't have the helmet on, but comes with all the same pieces. Wish there was some kind of variation, maybe blood on them, something a little different, but of course not. Now I ended up with all these extra King Shark arms. I already have 2 different versions of King Shark from the Suicide Squad, and I have 2 extra pairs of arms. And because I did the same thing with Bloodsport, I also have 2 extra torsos. Probably end up throwing these things on eBay just to recoup some of my costs, but kind of interesting. Now his arm does look very nice. I like the gray on it. The sculpting is fantastic. It seems kind of basic, but it works very well. Single jointed elbow. His hand looks very nice. See sort of the webbing between the fingers. Then we have his hatchet. I remember he used that when he was competing with Bloodsport. I don't recall seeing it one time in the film. Now the hatchet has the doves cut into it. Pretty cool. Silver at the top where the blade is. Then it's got this little bit of grip here with some extra sculpt and detail. And because I got 2 of these Unmasked Peacemaker figures, I have 2 of these hatchets. In the film, I believe he only had 1, but I'm very happy to have 2 of these for my Peacemaker figure. Here's Peacemaker holding 1 of his axes, and then holding 2 of them. The regular version of Peacemaker came with a sword. None of the versions come with guns, and the reason is Warner Brothers has this no gun mandate for all officially licensed DC figures. Starting pretty much just now, any trigger weapons cannot be included with DC figures, whether it be McFarlane, Mezco, Mafex, Amazing Yamaguchi, any of those companies. Very disappointing, and ass backwards, as Peacemaker and Bloodsport damn sure should come with guns. In my opinion, Warner Brothers is just trying this fake caring PR publicity stunt, and really, the adult collectible community, it is not going to help child violence or whatever they think they're doing by preventing adult collectors from getting figures with guns with them. I'll get off my soapbox now, but come on, WB. Here's a sword that came with the standard version of Peacemaker. Once again, I believe he uses about 1 time in the film. This thing also has a cool little dove on the handle there. Here's Peacemaker taking on another recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figure that also came with axes. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, he's sitting at about 7.3 inches tall, which is going to translate to about 18.5 centimeters. Now let's check out his articulation. Starting with his head here, of course, it can rotate from side to side. Can look up about that far, down about that far, pretty impressive there. Can tilt his head from one side to the other, give him a good amount of personality. Shoulders on a ball joint, goes up about 90 degrees, up, down, around, all that good stuff. He does have a butterfly joint between his shoulder and chest area, hidden pretty nicely in here. Increase the range of motion there. Bicep cut, also hidden nicely under his sleeve. Double jointed elbows, go in all the way, and they look absolutely hideous when broken up like this. His wrist here can rotate, and it's going to be hinged as well. His torso here, he's got a soft shirt sort of underneath, almost another soft shirt underneath. Ball jointed here, ball joint here. Can rotate around, go forward and back. Rotate the whole thing, go forward and back. Giving him a pretty good range of motion here. Now it looks a little odd when like this, but it definitely looks better than if he had a different color underneath there. Legs go out about this far. Not a ball joint, but a similar type concept. Rotation, pretty minimal there. Legs, they go forward, about that far. Back, pretty much not at all. Double jointed knees below that. Then his ankle here can rotate, go forward and back, can tilt and rock, and he has toe articulation. Now I wanted to compare him with the regular version of Peacemaker, the one that has the helmet on, and see if there are any differences besides the obvious different head. So let's take a peek. If I had to pick just one of these 2 figures, it would be the helmeted version. I got this guy really just to be able to put his head onto another body and have Peacemaker out of his costume. So obviously the heads are considerably different. Going further down, the torso, the arms, everything else is the same, but on the original version, you can really see the trigger sticking out of the trigger finger. And I noticed on the newer one, it seems like the trigger finger is still cut, but it sticks out a whole lot less. Almost like they didn't want to bring attention to the fact that he was originally supposed to come with guns. Here's the Unmasked Peacemaker, holding the head from the standard version of Peacemaker, kind of looking like he has the helmet under his arm. Here's Peacemaker in his armory, getting ready to make some peace. And as Peacemaker puts his helmet on and gets some guns, getting all geared up, he thinks to himself, nothing like a bloodbath to start the day. Here's a Suicide Squad in a broken down building, preparing for battle. And here they are, quick to jump into action. Here's King Shark and the team of figures from the Suicide Squad. So far, McFarlane has given us these 5 figures. There has been no announcement or any tease about any further figures, But there's about 16 more characters I can make from this film. I really hope they trickle a few more out at least. Here's Peacemaker and Bloodsport facing off, just like near the end of the film. And so I did mention earlier, I wanted to have Peacemaker with the helmet on, Peacemaker with the helmet off, and then I wanted to have Peacemaker out of his costume in civilian attire. So I bought 2 of these Unmasked Peacemakers so I could take one head off just for that purpose. So, let's see what bodies I have to offer. So I thought to myself, I have an extra one of these NECA Dutch figures from San Diego Comic-Con many years ago. I thought his color scheme was pretty similar to Peacemaker, red shirt, khaki pants, but it's not his hero outfit, or more his anti-hero outfit. It's just a regular civilian attire. So let's go ahead and see if this works. So the first thing I had to do, take some boiling water, dip this Dutch figure and the Unmasked Peacemaker in there, pop off both their heads. And you know what? Not too bad. The head is a little bit too big for this body, but not by much. The skin tone also doesn't match Dutch's skin tone. I may or may not continue to use this body in the future. Might find something better, but for now, this will be my Peacemaker in civilian attire. So here would be my 3 Peacemaker figures at this point. One with the helmet on, one with the helmet off, and one in civilian attire. But I still have this extra Unmasked Peacemaker body. I had this for the extra head that popped out of Dutch, and what am I going to do with this thing? Well, I thought to myself, I have the Mattel WWE Ultimate John Cena, and that guy came with 3 different heads. Maybe I can pop one of those heads on here. And that's exactly what I did. Now I have Peacemaker with the helmet on, Peacemaker in civilian attire, Unmasked Peacemaker as is, and then an Unmasked Peacemaker with a slightly superior John Cena head by Mattel. Tell me what you guys think. Drop me a line in the comments below. Which head looks better? The McFarlane version on the left, or the Mattel version on the right? I'd say in this scenario, Mattel beat McFarlane, and Mattel almost never beats McFarlane. At least in the modern day and age. And I'll say, putting this John Cena head onto the Dutch body, size-wise, is a little bit smaller, fits a little better, and the skin tone match is also a little better. Now let's check them out, next to some other action figures, starting off with some other McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is, next to the standard version of Peacemaker. Then, next to the unmasked version of Bloodsport. Here's the entire McFarlane DC Multiverse, the Suicide Squad collection. It's finally complete with all the variants. And here he is, next to all the Zack Snyder's Justice League figures that I have. Zack Snyder's Justice League also exists in the DC Cinematic Universe alongside the Suicide Squad, so potentially these characters could interact. Well, except for the fact that a lot of them died in the Suicide Squad. Then, next to the Wonder Woman 1984 wave, Wonder Woman 1984 was also part of the DC Cinematic Universe. Here he is next to Arrow from TV's Arrowverse. Arrow is the only McFarlane DC Multiverse live action figure that's not from the DC Cinematic Universe. Then, here are all the different McFarlane Unmasked figures they've made so far. I could see them doing a ton more. Maybe a Terry McGinnis Batman Beyond Unmasked figure, or an Unmasked Dark Knight Returns armored Batman figure. The possibilities are endless. I know, a lot of you out there are thinking, why can't they just include the extra head with the figure? Why do they make us double dip? Well, at this price point, I understand they have to reuse some of the figures to coop up some of the costs. I'm very happy with what's going on. If it was a choice between getting just the regular figure and no unmasked figure, or one of each, I'd pick one of each any day of the week. And here they all are, in civilian form. And here he is, with some other recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Now let's check him out, next to some other John Cena figures. Here he is, next to an older Jack-specific John Cena. Then, next to some Mattel basic John Cena figures. And here, with some Mattel Elite John Cena figures. And then, next to a Mattel Ultimate John Cena figure. And here are all my different John Cena action figures. Now let's check him out, next to some action figures from different various companies, to see how he fits in, both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a McFarlane figure, they're typically 7-inch scale, I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect and work my way smaller. Here he is with some of his McFarlane Toys brothers. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all from McFarlane Toys, all 7-inch scale. Then, next to some more McFarlane Toys. These are from different various video game properties. And now, next to some Jakks Pacific wrestling figures. And here he is, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys. Then, next to some DC Direct and DC Collectibles figures. And here, next to some NECA figures. Then, next to some Mattel wrestling figures. And now, next to some Jazzwares AEW wrestling figures. And here he is, next to some Mezco 112 cloth soft goods action figures. Then, next to some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. And here, next to some Mafex figures. Then, next to some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. And finally, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, it's a pretty cool figure, but I definitely prefer the version with the helmet on. His likeness is pretty soft. The only reason I really got this guy was to make Peacemaker in a civilian attire, which I really didn't even need in my collection. His accessories, I do like the fact that he comes with something different than the masked version. Both the Bloodsport figures came with the same accessory. It's definitely disappointing that it didn't come with any guns. That Warner Brothers DC mandate is ridiculous. I sure hope that gets changed in the near future. His articulation is everything you expect from a McFarlane DC Multiverse figure, but his elbows are very ugly. If I were to rate this guy, I'm probably going to give him a 6 out of 10. Not enjoying him as much as I'd like. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will talk to you guys real soon.